All right, we are live on the Wedding Business Growth. Thank you for joining us tonight. We are just getting started. We're excited to be a part of a couple of different groups tonight. We're in the Wedding Business Growth group. We're in the DJ's Vault public group, and we're in the Marry Me Tampa group out of Tampa, Florida. So we're excited about that. As you can see, my sidekick here is not my normal sidekick. Nick had to work an event tonight, so he is not able to be joining me. So Katie, one of our good dear friends, is joining me to help out tonight. And you never know, you might see Katie a lot more often. We're okay with that. How's your week been so far, Katie?
It's been a good week. We're going through reschedules again. Unfortunately, we saw a lot of October, November starting to reschedule. But, we still have a lot of weddings that are moving forward. We have a busy weekend coming up. We have about 6 weddings total with our team. 3 of those 6 are reschedules from the spring. So I'm excited for those brides who have been waiting a long time, and I'm just excited.
Somebody said Katie is the best, and Nick, though. I don't know if that's a knock on me. I guess maybe that means that Katie and Nick, maybe I should let you guys do the show. That's okay.
No.
By the way, guys, if you're watching us, feel free to comment, drop your comment in the section. In the post, you'll see a thing that says StreamYard. It's just a quick little link to click on to give permission to StreamYard for you to be able to show your name, and so we know who you are. Otherwise, your comment will come up like this, and it will say Facebook user, and we won't know who you are. So we want to know who you are, so please be sure to just give StreamYard permission to do that. So well, that's good to hear. Good to hear you guys are staying busy. I know rescheduling has been, the topic of discussion for everybody in our industry, and it continues to keep happening. And so we're just all trying to fight through that and trying to do our best through that. I actually have the week off from events this coming weekend, so I'm kind of okay with that. Give me a chance to rest and recharge before I head to California next week. So we're excited about that. Want to remember our buddy Raymar, who we lost last week. He is gone but never forgotten, and so we want to dedicate this show to him again this week, just to kind of keep him in our memories and in our thoughts. So last week we talked about marketing. We had a really good response from our people that were watching last week, and so we said, hey, let's continue this discussion about marketing, because I think it's an important thing, and it's definitely very important during this time of the year where or just not even the time of the year, just the time of what's going on right now. And we're all living and working in conditions and circumstances that we are not familiar with. And to some extent, we're learning as we go. And I think some people have done really, really well at that. I know some people have struggled with that. And so that's part of why we're here tonight. That's why we want to continue to keep coming back every week and providing guests to help with these things and kind of help you be at the top of your game with your business. So once again, if you guys have comments, if you have questions, as always, feel free to drop those in the comments section, and we'll see those. Especially if you have questions, we'll get those answered. And so we're going to bring on our guest right now. And our guest tonight is Anna Coates. Anna from Marry Me Tampa Bay, out of Tampa Bay, Florida. And I was introduced to Anna from Katie. Hi, Katie and David or hi, whoever said hi to Katie and David. I was introduced to Anna from Katie, and I was excited to have her come on board because she's a rock star down in Tampa Bay, and so we're all kind of Florida peeps, and we don't want it to be a Florida show, but tonight you've got all of us on here from Florida, and we're gonna, for maybe about the next 50 minutes or so, we're gonna try to provide you guys with some really great content. So Anna, thank you for joining us tonight. We appreciate you being on board.
Thanks for having me, guys.
And, people, one of the funniest comments that I get after the fact, people tell me that I never do a good job of introducing people and their background. And I need to get better at that. And once again, I'm going to fail at this. So I'd rather just let you, if you don't mind, just share a little bit about your background within the industry and so on and so forth. And then we'll dive in our conversation.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm the editor of Marry Me Tampa Bay. We are a local online publication based here in Tampa, Florida. We are a local niche publication that just showcases weddings right here in the Tampa Bay, Sarasota area. The publication, I've had that for over 8 years now, but I'm well-versed in things all over the U.S. I've been a speaker at Cater Source for different NACE events, Association of Bridal Consultants. So really, marketing education when it comes to the wedding industry is really important to me. With 8 years of publishing experience, we've published over 1,000 real weddings and articles, and that means we've seen a lot of vendor websites, a lot of vendor social medias, and we've interacted with a lot of vendors. So we've seen it all, the whole gamut when it comes to marketing for weddings.
Very good. Very good. Well, then you're definitely going to be somebody that's going to help out tonight without a doubt. One of the things that's probably a concern on a lot of people's minds is, am I going to make it through this? Am I going to be in business come 2021? We hope and pray for everybody that they're going to. But I think it's important for people to really kind of analyze some of the things that you were talking about to be able to stand out, because there's a lot of people that either have had to go get another job because they just can't, especially if they were doing this a little bit more on the full-time side of things, and they haven't been able to sustain that, and to no fault of theirs, by the way, just circumstances of the situation. Or, maybe people that were part-time that again, maybe had to go back to their job and different things like that. So people maybe aren't doing as much from the standpoint of marketing themselves as they were prior to all of this happening. So I think it's important. And I think maybe talk a little bit about marketing strategies that you feel are maybe working, or maybe even things that could maybe that's so 2018, let's do something new now kind of a thing.
Yeah. Well, I think the number one question to ask yourself is, do you plan on being in business in 2021? I know a lot of people, luckily, for the most part, have had postponements and not full cancellations. So their 2021 schedule looks, is pretty full right now. So hopefully for a lot of your viewers, there's a good chance they're planning on being in business in 2021 and 2022. So if that's the case, you can't freeze everything that you're doing right now. I know it's scary, and I know when you don't have that income coming in, the last thing you want is income going out. But things have really changed. You have to work harder and smarter and more efficiently than you ever have before to get business. I know a lot of the vendors that we work with and talk to, 2019 was amazing for them. And 2020 was scheduled to be an even better year than 2019. So a lot of them are like, wow, I am used to the business just coming to me. I'm not used to having to really work hard for the business. So you got to maybe go back to your roots. When you first started your business, year 2, year 3, and you were really scrappy about things, kind of go back to that. And you can't just sit back and wait for the business to come to you. That's a huge aspect. We've gotten very complacent sometimes when that happens, and it's an uncomfortable situation. You got to get a little bit uncomfortable and kind of change things up.
Yeah, I think when you've been around for a while and you kind of get to that point where, like you said, you're used to kind of the business coming to you. And Katie, you can probably talk on this a little bit, because I know you've been around for a long while, and you guys are not just in one market, you guys are in multiple markets. And so kind of just tell us a little bit about the necessity to really stay out there and be in people's faces.
Yeah, I think it's super important. And we are kind of touching base with our vendors more. Talking to them, getting out there more, saying hi to the venues that we work with a lot, helping the venues by saying, like, look, if you have a client in a pinch and they need a coordinator, let's work together. I can work on a deal for you to help seal the deal for them. So kind of, like helping each other and working through that. I know that I've gone out of my comfort zone a lot by doing live videos. I do not like them. And Brittany on my marketing team has pushed me to do that. So I actually answer questions and do videos. I did an Instagram live, totally out of my comfort zone. So Anna, I'm doing that.
Very proud of you.
Yeah, I hate it, but I am definitely doing it. And going back to the roots of just like stopping by and saying hi to people. I'm taking bottles of wines to some of the vendors that we work with all the time. Just basic marketing things that we haven't done in years, but it's nice that I can actually do that now. So there is some silver lining in this.
Yeah, and I mean, getting out of your comfort zone sometimes is the best thing you can do, just to be able to test your capabilities and test, how far can you really stretch to get outside of your comfort zone. Usually, depending on the type of education you listen to or different things like that, you're a lot of times told, so look here, Brittany's a rock star, Katie. Here we go. Yep. Getting out of your comfort zone sometimes is that last step you need to take to really get to that success that you're really looking for. So, I mean, I definitely commend you for that. And I think it's great that you're doing those things. And you mentioned, the Instagram and social media for that matter, doing lives and doing different things like that. And I think, Anna, that's one of those things where right now it's super important. Like, we were talking off camera beforehand, and the fact that we're not really necessarily able to always go to all the venues, or we're not necessarily able to meet our clients face to face like we used to be able to, and have create those relationships. So I think to Katie's point, and to what you were talking about a little bit earlier with us, just really making sure that your presence on social media is there, and that you have an opportunity. It's right there for you. It's free to use. It really is just your time, but to showcase your personality and who you really are.
Yeah, there's a few different things to go along with that. In terms of vendor relations, for a lot of more seasoned wedding pros, getting referrals from vendors is where a bulk of your revenue comes from. You've been around for a long time. You don't have to, quote, do advertising like if you were a newbie. But right now, a lot of venues, they're not open right now. So they're not sending you any referrals. So that kind of lead generation has dried up for you. And, if your planners aren't booking new events, then they're not seeing those leads either. So you really have to get creative on, it's kind of up to you now. You really have to go out there and own that. And when it comes to staying up to date with vendors, I know a lot of different networking groups are all moving, online to Zoom, but go to your Facebook contacts, look and see who's in the industry. Just, hi, how are you? And we always say that, but we don't really mean that. But now really ask, hi, how are you? Because a lot of us have been going through roller coaster ups and downs, whether it be with work stuff or personal life. And I think we just crave that human connection, and just knowing that someone truly cares about you really goes a long way when it comes to vendor connection.
Yeah, I mean, I always try to tell the people that come aboard and work for our company that even though we're an entertainment company, I always tell people we're not really in the entertainment business. We're in the people business. Mm-hmm. And it's important. The relationship business is important to have those good, solid relationships. And I think you bring a very good point up, that authenticity and being genuine will always carry you much further than anything else. So it definitely does make sense, and it's definitely very important to make sure that that you are reaching out to those folks, and that you are doing that in a true, authentic way, and asking how they are, how's their day, how's their week, how's their business, so on and so forth, and not just kind of going through the motions kind of a thing. So yeah. That's a great point. Absolutely a great point.
A funny story to that. I'm big on Instagram stories. My personal Instagram is Life of a Wedding Blogger. But today, I posted a picture to my stories of your cute, typical Instagram story type of photo. And then I posted a meme about just being super stressed out. And what got more replies? The meme about being stressed out, because this is a time that we are all going through the same thing, which is crazy. Every single person in the entire world is going through the same scenario. Mm-hmm. So there are things that you immediately can connect to and to relate with. So I think that's something that really makes this an interesting time, because it's just you have a really unique connection that you don't always have.
Yeah, absolutely. Guys, by the way, you're on with us on the Wedding Business Growth live video tonight. We have Anna Coates joining us from Marry Me Tampa Bay, out of Tampa Bay, Florida. And we want to encourage you guys to be a part of the conversation. If you're watching, if you're listening, please drop your comments and questions in there for Katie, for myself, for Anna, for any of us. And we'll be happy to answer those for you. We love to have that interaction from the audience, so please don't hesitate to do that. Anna, one of the things that you talked about, I think, is very interesting to me, because I kind of struggle with this a little bit myself. You make the point about we're all going through the same thing. We're all struggling and through this, and sometimes it becomes kind of a pride thing to not want to be vulnerable, maybe is the right word, and one of the things I've really tried to do is just be willing to show a little bit more of my vulnerability. I mentioned in the beginning of the show, my friend Raymar, who passed away. I mean, this is somebody who's been a lifelong friend. He's been a mentor to me. And, at first I didn't want to really say anything about it. And then I was like, but why wouldn't I? I mean, this is my life. This is reality, this is somebody who meant the world to me, and this is somebody who is instrumental in my career and where I am now, I would do a disservice to that person if I didn't, show that authenticity. You know what I mean? So I think it's very key that we continue to do that. We just had a comment come in. Good information, Anna. Thank you. Connect and have empathy with your clientele. Absolutely. So I think we're right on point with that. We're right in the same wheelhouse with that, is just being authentic with people. And I know, Katie, that's one of the things that, our relationship, we've known each other for a very long time. And I think it's great that you and I, when we work events together, it would almost be funny to be able to be a fly on the wall and listen to our conversations, because we have some pretty funny conversations. But point being is we can always be each other or be real with each other. And I love that.
Yeah, agree. I think too that, obviously everybody knows that I was having a wedding, and I've been very honest about my feelings as a bride too, because you go through everything. So connecting with the clients has been a lot easier for me, because I'm going through it with the brides that I'm working with. And now they can understand that I actually understand where they're at too, because we've had to cancel our wedding and shift gears. And I am very positive about it, because there's nothing more we can do than just keep moving on and making a new plan. And I think as business owners, we should be honest with our clients, like, hey, as a business owner, we're shifting gears, we're changing things too. And I feel like it's really helped the clients relate to us.
Yeah, I think it's a great point. Somebody just said hi. Sorry, guys. Once again, if you don't allow StreamYard to show who you are and your photo and your name, we won't know who you are. Unfortunately, we don't see the comment come in other than just this way. But hi.
So I know when it comes to showing more of your personality, a lot of times in business, especially with maybe your social media accounts, you don't always do that. And you don't have to become super vulnerable in front of your clients if you don't want to, when it comes to more personal things. So some things you can use to kind of connect with your clients. Everyone has taken up a quarantine hobby, whatever that may be. Maybe it's, in my case, I tried to learn how to garden, and I learned that I can't garden. I tried to learn how to bake, and I learned that I can't bake. But, you can kind of show some of those fun behind the scenes things, because again, these are things that we're all doing together. We're all like trying to pick up that new hobby or stay busy, or we're all binge watching that new show. So there are ways you can incorporate your personality of how you're getting through quarantine or how your life has changed, and show that you're a real human, because that's, when couples hire vendors, I always say that weddings are not a rational purchase, they're an emotional purchase. So they really want to connect with you over something more than, oh, you like coffee? I like coffee. You like dogs? I like dogs. To have a deeper connection. Sure. And maybe you have a couple too that was like, you know what? I can't bake either. I really tried. I'm done with that. So whatever it is you can find to spark that human connection is really important right now.
Absolutely. And this is DJ Squeeze. So, hey, DJ Squeeze, thanks for watching us. I like that name. That's a pretty cool DJ name. I like that. DJ Squeeze. All right. So let's talk about, because earlier in the conversation, you kind of talked about seeing a lot of websites and seeing a lot of, information out there about people. Help us out a little bit with maybe some things that you've seen lately, that maybe this is the perfect time to dive in and make some changes on your website, make some changes on your internet presence. What are some of the things that maybe you've seen that would really help people, with that?
Oh gosh, so much. Where to start with that one? I think that what I've seen a lot of times is when a business starts out, in the beginning, you have the time to keep up with the social media accounts yourself. You have, you build a brand new website when you first start out. It's all fresh and new. And then maybe year 3 of your business, it really starts to take off, and you don't touch any of that for a long time. So I know there's a lot of you out there who are working with a website that you probably haven't touched since maybe 2015, 2012, whatever that may be. So use this time right now to do a refresh on your website. As you know, websites, the look and feel of them have changed. So how do you expect to book a client in 2020 or 2021 with a website that looks like it's from 7 years ago? You never want to seem dated in an industry that's forever changing. So definitely update your website, take the time, make the investment to do that, because again, you have to work harder than ever to book and to convert your clients now. And that's going to be social presence or online presence is so important right now. So that is something very important to do. But with that said, very few couples maybe even will go to your website anymore because they're going to first go to your Instagram account. And if your Instagram account does not show them enough to make them want to go to your website, they're not even going to touch your website. So go through your Instagram account. Again, it's probably been a while since you've gone through and archived some of your old posts, but especially go back maybe like 2-3 years ago. If you're still showing weddings with chair covers or you're showing stuff that's a little bit dated, archive that stuff, get that off your feed, because you don't want couples again to think that you're out of date or that you haven't kind of changed with the times. And really invest in either learning how to make your social presence stronger or hire someone. I know, again, you may not want to spend that money, but if you hire someone, let's say maybe for 5 hours, to go through and clean up your Instagram account and give you some pointers, I promise it is going to pay off in the long run, because a couple will go to your Instagram account, look at it for 5 seconds and say yay or nay. And if you can't connect with them and catch their attention in those first few seconds, you completely lost them.
Very good point. We just had a comment come in. This is good because I'm a young DJ. Thanks, y'all. I'm happy to learn. That's exactly why we're here. This comment is the exact reason why we're doing these, and we'll continue to keep doing these as long as we're allowed to do them. So thank you for that. That means that we're doing our job properly, and I'm happy to hear that. Guys, once again, if you're watching, whatever group you're watching in, you might be in the DJ's Vault group, you might be in the Wedding Business Growth group, or you might be in the Marry Me Tampa Bay group. We are broadcasting to all three of those groups tonight, and we appreciate the DJ's Vault and Marry Me Tampa Bay for allowing us to do that tonight. Excuse me, and being able to reach a broader audience. And so we want to remind you guys, if you have questions for Anna or for Katie or for any of us, please don't hesitate to drop those questions in the comments. We'll definitely see those, or even just a comment, like the last comment that was just made. That really honestly thrills my heart to see that, because it helps me know that we're on the right path. And Anna, I thought you brought up some really good stuff about going back to the websites for a minute. Like, I think it is easy to get complacent. I mean, I feel like I every year I change my website. Like, I just redid our website this year, and I'm already like, I'm ready to do something different again. I don't know if people have to do it that often, but I do think you bring a good point up about the way the way the internet changes, the way people access information changes. So many people are using, these things to access information now. So even something as simple as, if your website is not, mobile friendly, is not mobile browser friendly, that's something that can immediately turn somebody off. And it's something that you would think that nobody would even, overlook these days, but it is possible that that's something you didn't even think about. Like, oh yeah, I've got a website, but have you ever looked at it at a phone? Have you looked at it on an iPad? What does it look like? It's important to know those things. And nobody wants to do the squeeze and move anymore. They shouldn't have to do that anymore, because there's opportunities available to do so. And then on social media, very good point. I don't think I ever really thought about archiving some of the older stuff, but I think it does make sense. I think my thought process behind that was always like showing longevity and letting people know that, like, when I tell you we've been in the business for a while, you can look at our Instagram or you can look at our social media and see that we really have. But I think you do bring a good point up about potentially archiving some of that stuff that really just maybe isn't as relevant anymore.
Yeah, I mean, if you go back and just for fun, go back and look to the very first Instagram post you ever made and compare it to now. you can see that you've probably come a long way yourself when it comes to your skills with Instagram. But it is so important. That is your business card per se nowadays. And that is, if you're a DJ, couples are going to go on there and be like, wow, look at the lighting in this reception, or like, look how fun they are. But if you've got a whole bunch of really grainy videos and it's just not attracting the type of client you want to get, you're going to turn them off immediately. They're not going to give you the time of day to really get to know who you are or how long you've been in business. And that's something else, that a lot of vendors pride themselves on. Hey, we've been in business for 25 years. Sometimes that can be a turnoff for couples, because they think, oh, well, you're old and you're not fun, and you don't know like what's trendy these days. So you really have to make sure that just because you've been in business for a long time does not always mean anything to couples these days. You have to stay fresh. You have to stay relevant.
I agree with that 100%. Honestly, I had a hard time giving up the marketing and social media in the beginning for Coastal, because, it's my baby. I started it and all of that. But then Brittany and Rachel and a couple of the other girls on my team were bringing ideas to me that I had no clue about. So I realized that I'm a great coordinator and I'm a great event designer. I am not great at social media. So I kind of hired them to come on and help with that. And I can't tell you the investment that it has helped my company, because I get people say all the time, your Instagram is so great now. I found you on Instagram. We get messages through Instagram now. We book a lot of our clients that way. So to me, I am spending money on it, but it's totally worth it. So to find that good social media marketing person, I used to outsource that, but now I brought the person on my team. They also do coordinating too, so they understand what we do as well, which I think is a benefit.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And you guys do a great job with y'all's Instagram. I was thinking earlier when Anna was talking about that. One of the things I think that you guys at Coastal do really well, and that's a great Instagram for an example for viewers to take a look at, is, right now, I think a lot of people maybe are saying, well, we're not working right now. We're not really doing events right now. What do we really showcase? And I think you guys have done a really good job from the standpoint of, as you mentioned, showcasing other vendors, highlighting other people that you work with, doing a quick little interview with them. And like, I know at one point you guys asked us to do like the top 5, our top 5 favorite dance songs and things like that. So there's so many different avenues that you can do to help your fellow vendors that are in the industry, and you can talk about them, you can talk about what they're doing, and you can expose them to people that maybe otherwise wouldn't have never even known they existed. And who knows what can happen. And all it is really just getting a little creative and helping people out. So I think you guys did a great job. And then somebody said, Katie, good point. Bring the talent of your team on board. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. We did that in our case, from a video standpoint. The biggest concern that I had was I loved all of the video that I saw, like videographers putting out, but a lot of it was the pretty frou-frou stuff, which is great, but that's not really what a DJ company wants to sell. Like I really want to sell people having a blast on the dance floor, having a really fun time. I want them to see that we're professional and how we MC the event for our clients and so on and so forth. And I had the hardest time getting that. And so we started working with a videographer kind of in-house to help us get those things specifically. And so when they go to an event with us, they're there specifically for us more so than they are for the client. And, we let everybody know ahead of time. And if the client already has a videographer, it's understood that our guy is not going to be anywhere near them. They're going to be completely out of the way. And it's just a good symbiotic relationship. But anyways, the point being that I think it's a really great idea. A lot of the things that you guys are doing. Anna, do you have any other suggestions maybe for viewers on things that they can be doing on social media right now when a lot of us really aren't doing terrible events?
So talking about hiring in-house, I'm a huge fan of that. And here's the thing, when it comes to hiring people, you can hire them 3 to 5 hours a week. You would be surprised how much benefit you can get with someone doing 3 to 5 hours of admin, social media, whatever it may be with that. So you do not have to go out and spend $1,000 a month on social media. You can easily hire someone in-house for 3 to 5 hours, and they will make a world of difference. And not to mention, we all know there are so many couples who after their wedding don't want to give up the wedding planning. They will, be ecstatic to work for a florist or a planner or a DJ and post about wedding content and then get paid for that. So post a story to your Instagram and say, hey, we're looking for, a part-time social media person, just a few hours a week. And you would be surprised at the level of talent that apply, and as well as the number of applications that you get. But something that you can do right now, even though you may not be doing a lot of events, photographers are still getting photos back, let's say from the December weddings, January weddings, February weddings. You still have a ton of content you can post from weddings that happened at the beginning of the year. And a wedding is multifaceted. You have the ceremony, you have the cocktail hour, you have the reception. So you have a lot of different things that you can post from each wedding. So you could take 5 weddings and you could stretch that into probably 2 months worth of content if you know how to do that properly and to talk about the different aspects of it. You can always, wish your past couples happy anniversary. For those COVID weddings that you are doing right now, share those. They may not have the detail and decor that you would normally showcase, but I think it's extremely important to show couples that people are still getting married and they're happy with that decision. With our publication, obviously we focus a lot on the details and decor, but for the COVID weddings we've been featuring, they're really not even having much of a reception. But the ceremonies and the stories behind the ceremonies are so touching. It's like, those almost have more emotion than the big blowouts that we post online. So I think it's really important to not take away from the planning process for those couples who are getting married and continue and give them that planning experience that they would have in a normal situation.
Yeah, and from the standpoint of COVID weddings, I think also this is a good time to maybe offer educational posts about the safety and the precautions and the things that you're doing as a company, as a business, as you're continuing to still do weddings during COVID, and everybody has their opinion on it, and that's okay. I mean, that's the beauty of, for now, living in the country that we live in. That's the beauty that we have the option to either be okay with participating in an event or not, and that either way is okay. But I think it's a great opportunity for people to be able to again talk a little bit about how they're safely handling weddings during COVID.
100%. You want couples to hire you because you're an expert, you're a professional, that type of thing. And how many of us knew who Dr. Fauci was, 5 months ago? None of us know. How many of us cling to every word he says? All of us, because he is the expert in his field. So your couples want to hear from you. If you're a DJ, they're probably thinking like, how can I still make my guests dance at the wedding, but be able to do it safely? And I'm sure you can share tips of things that you've learned or tricks or things that you've learned to incorporate that into the dance floor, but still make it safe and fun. And as a planner, I mean, oh my gosh, you've probably had the most off the wall questions that are still valid. Do and share those on social media and say, hey, we just got this great question that came in online or through an email or whatever. I was just talking to a client and they asked me this. And just so you all know, here's how to handle that situation. Show your value to your potential couples. Even if they're not booking right now, they are still researching, they're watching, they're just waiting for that moment to be like, okay, I feel comfortable booking them now. Yeah. And if you are, even if you're not having a wedding to, let's say 2022, if you during this type of situation are, being calm, cool, collective, they can say, listen, if this person can get through this, they can easily get through my wedding when we're past everything with COVID.
That's a very good point. And we had another comment come in. COVID weddings sound tough and not the first choice, but sometimes a small intimate wedding turns out being better than they originally dreamed. Katie, I know you guys are working a lot of, weddings that are, condensing down and smaller. So this topic is probably something you could touch on a little bit about what you've seen, and even a couple of events that we've already worked together that are on a smaller scale, but were just a blast. They were so fun.
Absolutely. I think that people are, when they're coming to a wedding during this time with COVID, they want to get out. They want to celebrate. They want to have fun. So I honestly think even though the weddings are smaller, those people want to celebrate. They're tired of not celebrating. So I feel like the events are happier and everyone's on the dance floor. And with a smaller wedding too, and this is what I always tell the brides, you actually get to spend time with your guests. When you have a wedding over 120 people, you don't get to spend time with everyone, even over 100. So it's really a time to remind them that they get to spend that time with everyone. It's more intimate. They don't have to go around and talk to every single table. So it's more time on the dance floor, which is ultimately what every bride wants on the timeline. It's the biggest thing that they want. So there are a lot of pluses to this. And, adding Zoom in and getting people involved in the ceremony is really helpful as well. So it's just, I think it's honestly like we went from very large weddings when I first started to smaller weddings. And then it started to go within the last 2 years to really, really large weddings again. So we're going back to about 5 years ago when the average wedding was 100 to 120 or less people. And I feel like the brides ultimately are happier at the end of it. Now, when they have to rechange their plans and go down in numbers, not happy at that moment, but in the end, they really are. And you just have to remind them of that.
Well, another really good thing, as this comment mentions, is they save money, right? They save money when you don't have
lots of money,
400 people or 300 people coming to your wedding. And usually I feel like those are the weddings where it's like, well, I can't say no to this person. I can't say no to that person. Well, if I say yes to this person, I got to invite this person. And then it could get totally out of control. So I want to stay on the topic of weddings still happening right now. And for those of you that are watching, this would be a great time for you guys to kind of chime in on this as well, because Katie works with me. Katie works throughout the state of Florida, but she works with me mostly in Northeast Florida. Anna is in Tampa, which is basically the west coast of Florida. And off camera, before we started tonight, we were really kind of talking about the differences about even in our own state, how they're different and how things are going. And so I want kind of maybe the two of you guys to talk a little bit about that, how those differences are. And then also those of you guys that are watching, let us know how things are going in your state where you live in. What are you seeing with weddings? And then we'll try to pop up some of those comments as they come in. Anna, we'll start with you, and then we'll kind of just bounce between you and Katie for a second.
So this is an area where connecting with vendors is super important. We have a Facebook group for vendors locally here in Tampa Bay, and we always try to say, hey, like, what's going on with weddings right now? How do your July and August weddings look compared to, last year or whatever it may be? And I'm finding that vendors are extremely open of saying like, hey, we had this many cancel, we had this many book. They're very open about sharing information. So you want to exchange information with your vendors. You're going to find that they're going to be much more apt to talk about what they're going through. But more importantly, if you do have a couple that is maybe being a little bit difficult about postponing or canceling, it's really helpful to know the other vendors. I have heard multiple times where a bride said, well, all my other vendors refunded back my money. And that vendor went and talked to the other vendors, and they're like, no, we definitely did not do that. And that's happened on a numerous amount of occasions. Mm-hmm. So it's really important right now. Like, as a DJ, you may not usually learn who the photographer is and who this person is until the day of the wedding. Really make it a point right now to learn who those other vendors are, to see how they are dealing or how they're coping with the rescheduling of this particular couple, because they may be able to give you some good insight of how to handle them if they're being difficult.
Yeah, that is a great point. I think we've had that a lot lately. We had a wedding that has had to reschedule 2 times, unfortunately, now. And they're looking at their 3rd time, and her mother got involved and kind of said to the that the venue was giving all their money back. And the venue reached out to all of us and said, are you guys really giving all the money back? And nobody was. With us, we work a lot as well as all the other vendors. So it's definitely something that, deposits are non-refundable. And I think across the board, Anna, you are so correct. If we all work together as teams, we'll all come out with a better outcome in that as well, too.
Now, I know you guys were saying, let's see, we got a quick comment here. Transparency with other vendors is such a good, helpful thing. Great point, Anna. Anna, you're on fire tonight, man. People are loving what you got to say tonight. That's great. Now, I know you guys were talking about how in Tampa, things are like a lot of venues are basically saying, nope, can't do weddings. And I know here in North Florida, it's a little different. Like, talk a little bit to that, Katie.
Well, they can still do events. Okay. A lot of the venues in like our Tampa and Orlando market are limiting the number of guests that you can have at events. Because, a lot of them are small or all indoor spaces. They want to follow that 50 max, amount for guests. Where some of the venues that we work with in St. Augustine and Jacksonville are saying, well, we're not really a venue, we're a food and beverage establishment. So by them saying that, they're going by the 50% rule of their capacity. So it's kind of like this weird gray line where we're all not really sure what the rule is or who's doing what. I think that Tampa and Orlando and all of our other markets, even Savannah, are sticking with, unless they have outdoor space, 50 or less, where in our other regions of Northeast Florida, it's kind of open. And we're having large events. I have an event for 224 people, and the venues on the end of this month. The venue literally said that is the max per the health department that we're allowed to do, and the client keeps pushing to have 300 people, and we're like, "Are you crazy?"
Wow.
It's just different.
That's crazy. Anna, go ahead. You had a comment on that?
Yeah. I think that's something else that we're running into here in this area, which I'm sure is happening all across the state now, across the US, is with some of the large hotel venues, a lot of their entire staff is still furloughed. I know venues here that their staff's not coming back until the end of September, early October. And I don't know how they're going to walk in on, September 25th and then have 5 weddings within 2 weeks. Or it's difficult to get information about the reschedule. So I know that has been an issue venue-wise of being able to communicate with some of the larger hotel chains who unfortunately have furloughed a lot of their workers.
That's a good point too. A lot of the corporate hotels are very strict on how many people they're allowed to have because they're a corporate chain. So it's Hilton and Marriott across the board have to follow the same rules. Where if it's a private venue, it can be different.
Very good points. Very good points. Again, those of you guys that are watching, definitely let us know. We had a comment come in. Yes, Katie, big events. I'm doing them. Just saying. Yep. So where
are they located? Do you know?
I'm not sure. Whoever, again, unfortunately, it just says Facebook users. So I'm not sure who it is, but whoever made this comment, we'd love to know where you guys are located. And then also those of you that are watching right now, kind of in the comments, just let us know. Are you doing events? Is your area not doing events? Are they allowing large events? Just curious to get an idea, and maybe let us know where you are in the country as well, just so we can kind of put some context on that and understand that. I think this is going to be, okay, so we got private venues. Yep. Okay. So private venues, I think, are a little lax. You know what I mean? They seem to be a little bit more lax in how they do things. I know that I did an event last weekend that was at a private venue, and they basically said, it's up to you whether you want to wear a mask or not. We're not going to make you do it. If you feel comfortable not wearing one, that's fine with us. But that's kind of on you. And then a couple weeks prior to that, I worked at a venue where it was absolutely took my temperature, made me wear a mask, the whole 9 yards. So, there is a little level of inconsistency, and I guess that's just based on where people stand with the whole situation. But and as long as it continues to keep going on, the best thing that we can all do is just work hard to be stewards of responsibility and educating both our clients, our fellow vendors, and then maybe even the people the places that we're working at. Somebody says hotels not so much, but private venues in St. Augustine, yes. Okay, yep. All right.
Anna,
so
I have a question, and I don't know if you can kind of help with this too. I've had other clients of mine say that it's irresponsible of vendors to post weddings on social media. And I don't know if you've had people say that or if you can guide us in the right direction, because there are a lot of people that feel like events shouldn't happen. But we do want to showcase that events are still happening. So there's half of the people out there that are saying, show us the events. And then other half are saying, oh, you guys are probably risking this. You shouldn't have events. COVID is bad. Things are going to happen to everybody at the event. It's a fine line, I think, too, with social media to post these events. So I don't know if you have any.
Yeah. What I would focus on, because obviously right now vendors are more excited than ever to do a wedding, right? So I think it's totally fine to post that. Just be selective of what you're posting. Maybe you don't post that wide ceremony shot of all the backs of the heads of the people. Maybe you just post a ceremony shot of the couple at the altar or talking about their story. I think that, people who are going forward with weddings right now, they have a very specific reason. Maybe they've been engaged for so long or maybe this date's really important to them. So share that story behind why you're posting it. And that's where you get a lot of the emotion. Again, emotions or weddings are an emotional, not a rational decision. So I think it's good, but I wouldn't necessarily maybe do a live of all the people at the reception who's not wearing masks. I would stay away from that stuff. Do detailed shots, do pictures of the couple, and tell the story about why they went ahead to go ahead and get married.
So I had a question come in. Do you speak on the mic through a mask? I'm assuming that probably was for me. I'm going to assume. And I will say that at the event where I was basically told that I needed to wear a mask the whole time, I really had no choice but to do that. But for the most part, I've tried not to. I've also brought an additional mic with me that we've sanitized and cleaned every time somebody else has used it. And so it's just a matter of being safe. It's just a matter of making sure that we're putting safety first, and then everything else kind of comes after that. And I think you bring up a good point about walking that fine line between letting people know that events are still going on, but not bragging and boasting about things that maybe could, cause further issues. I mean, I know that I've heard of in different areas in the country where venues have actually been shut down because of social media posts that were seen about events going on there. And I think most of that was maybe being too lenient and having way too many people and no social distancing, et cetera, et cetera. And so I think a lot of those are the reasons for that. But at the end of the day, we don't want to really cause anybody to go out of business. So just, be smart, be careful about what you're doing, I think is the point.
But I think it's important, especially for your fall couples who are coming up. They're on the fence about, I really want to go forward with it, but it looks like no one else is doing weddings, so I'm going to go ahead and postpone mine, even though they really want to do it. So I think it's important to still show that weddings are happening, but again, focusing on why they're happening, not the what, but the why that they're happening.
Mm-hmm.
And going back to something that vendors can do, you may be working at a venue, you've worked at 100 times, but you haven't worked at this venue since COVID hit. So reach out to that venue and say, hey, what are your guidelines for COVID? Because you want to walk in there, and if they're, mask, temperature, all that, and you're not wearing one, you don't want to give off an unprofessional aura of that, even though you've worked there 100 times. Also reach out to the other vendors too and say, hey guys, just kind of, curious what your policy is for the wedding this weekend. Do you wear masks? Do you not wear masks? Because you may want to be even more cautious if you hear from other vendors who are like, hey, I have a spouse who's home who's immune compromised, so I am very cautious about my interactions. So you want to make sure that if you're more lenient, that you respect the vendors that you're working with, even if the couple may not care as much or the guests may not care as much.
Well, I think that's a great point. And I mean, that in itself, in all reality, is a form of marketing yourself and letting people know that you're responsible, you're proactive, you're thoughtful, you care about other people, and you're not just doing your own thing or whatever. So I think that's a great point. I had another comment come in. Let's not forget, this is all about the bride, and they just want it to be memorable. Memorial, but I think they meant memorable. And that's exactly it, is just making sure that we do our best to help make it, be a great event. So, okay, let's talk a little bit about maybe being savvy with some things that we hadn't had been savvy with before. One of those that jumps out right away would be utilizing things like Zoom and video broadcasting and things like that. Talk about that a little bit, Anna.
So I was on a Zoom call yesterday, and the person was on their phone, and it was a video, and they were still holding the phone up to their ear. So I would get a picture of them, and then a picture of their ear, and a picture of them, and a picture of their ear. If you're a wedding professional, you can't be doing this, especially with your potential couples who may, be hiring you based off of this call. So if you're not Zoom savvy, do some tests with your friends, fellow vendors, and become very comfortable with Zoom. Have a nice setup. If you look right now, I've got 2 lights on me because lighting is really important. I don't want to be sitting here in the dark. You can wear your pajamas in the bottom, totally fine, but have some good lighting, have a nice setup behind you. If you're a venue, something really cool that I've seen venues do is change the virtual background to make it a picture of their wedding venue, like all dolled up. And that's just a really cool thing to see. So you can play with virtual backgrounds, but you've got to become very savvy and comfortable meeting through Zoom, FaceTime, whatever it is it may be. Also, too, you want to integrate things that maybe you haven't used before. I use Calendly. Calendly is the best scheduling tool ever, because how annoying is it to say, hey, can you meet Thursday at 2? No. Can you do Friday at 4? No. Can you do Monday? Do Calendly. You can have it to where they can go straight to your Zoom and register, and then you just open up your calendar and say, oh, wow, I have a 3 o'clock consult today. It makes things very simple. Your couples are used to it. They're used to being tech savvy. So you have got to move into 2020. You can't be stuck in 2012 with the way that you schedule and communicate with your couples.
Yeah, no, Calendly actually changed my life. As soon as I started using Calendly, all of that, what you were talking about, totally went away. And I love it because it's a simple conversation to somebody. And it's just, hey, listen, whether instead of going back and forth, and we had somebody said Calendly is the best, it absolutely is. Mm-hmm. Instead of going back and forth, like you said, I always just say to people, listen, you know your schedule better than I do. Here, jump on my calendar. This is everything that I have available. You pick anything you want and it's yours. That's exactly why it's there. And that time is yours. And so that's a great point that I think, you definitely want to utilize things like this. Katie, I know you guys use Calendly as well, don't you?
We do. We keep it on our signature box always too. So I always just say it's always in the signature of my email. We can shoot it over to them. And we do several times. We do in-person, Zoom, phone. It's just the easiest.
Yeah. And some things too, especially if you're more in the luxury market, think about ways that you can still make that initial meeting fun or exciting. So, maybe it's something that you send them a small gift that, hey, whenever we have our first meeting, pop that champagne and have it with me. Or even if you don't send it to them, give them fun instructions and say, hey, this is a joyous time. I'll meet you at 6 o'clock on Zoom, and just make sure and grab your favorite drink or cocktail so we can share that together. Going back to if you're any vendor, if you're maybe potentially meeting with a couple who is getting married at a certain wedding venue, you can always make that venue your background too. And how special for them if they log on to that meeting with you and they're looking to hire you as their DJ or their planner, and you have a picture of a wedding that you've done there in your background. I mean, that's just a really cool special touch, and that will really stand out more to them.
I think that's great. We were using Honeybook for a while, and that's what I would do on Honeybook, is I would always put a photo of the venue that the event was taking place at. So that's a great advice. We got somebody saying, is Florida doing in-person meetings GA local?
Georgia.
Yeah. So are you guys being able to do in-person meetings there yet in Tampa?
Yeah, I know there was just a vendor networking event that happened a couple of days ago. I know there's an open bridal show coming up in a couple of weeks. So,
I think it's the 23rd, isn't it?
The show that I'm thinking of is August the 30th.
Okay.
There may be one on the 23rd as well.
Oh, I know the one you're on the 30th.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm starting to meet people in person too. I like it. I like to get out of the house as much as I like to work from home. I'm starting to get to the point where I don't want to be here anymore. So meeting outside the house has been something we're doing a lot lately.
I think it's just important and just smart to be able to meet people where they are. If they're okay and they're willing to meet you in person, I think the same questions should still apply. Would you prefer I wear a mask? How do you feel about that? Or if they say, I really would feel more comfortable doing it virtually, we can't get upset about that. We can't get angry about that. It's the world we live in right now, and it's something that we just have to deal with. And so I think, to Anna's point, it's very important to be savvy about, how your setups are, and even some of the ideas that you gave tonight. I'm gonna implement, trust me, on my future virtual calls. But
lots of notes of things to do.
Yeah, there you go. But being able to be versatile and meet people where they are. Again, tonight our conversation is about marketing, and to me, all of those little things are marketing who you are, how you are, and why you are. Another comment just came in. NACE and St. Augustine Wedding and Events are meeting in person. That's right, absolutely. So definitely some things and some places and some organizations and so forth are kind of getting back to sort of, I guess, what we would call normal. I guess meeting in person is something we could call normal. But I think it's good that we just that we talk about these things and we really make sure that people understand that at the end of the day, we just want people to be safe and we want them to be comfortable in the environment they're in. So we got a few minutes left before we're going to sign off of here. And I want to take the last little bit. Number one, I want to definitely ask the people that are watching right now, if you have any specific questions for Anna, Katie, or myself, please drop those questions in. We're kind of coming close to the end of the night. So we want to address your questions if you have those. In the meantime, while we see if anybody does have any questions, Anna, maybe if you could just maybe a couple bullet point highlights of what we've talked about tonight, some actionable steps that people could do as soon as they are done watching this video, 1, 2, 3, however many you have, just some things that people could do to really improve marketing themselves moving into the next week even.
Yeah. So in this industry, it's always go, 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 go. We never have time to stop and collect ourselves. We always say, okay, this summer, I'm going to do this. Or, in down season, I'm going to do this. Well, guess what? Engagement season is actually right around the corner. And when do you ever have the chance in our industry to kind of stop and take a breath? So utilize this time to really go through and look at your marketing strategy. What is working? What's not working? What has just been put on autopilot in terms of you just renew, but you haven't done anything with in a long time? Maybe you're paying for advertising for a vendor listing, but you haven't updated that vendor listing in 4 years. Take this time to really look at your marketing, look at your online presence, schedule some time maybe with some of your close vendor friends and say, hey, will you look at my website? Let me know what you think. What should I update? What should I change? Same thing for your social media accounts. Utilize this time because it's a very, very rare chance that you have to go through and to do an overhaul with things. I know people have done a lot with their contracts. You should be doing the same thing with your marketing because, again, you do have to work harder right now. You do have to do more to get clients. They're not coming as easily as they used to, and it's very, very competitive right now. So those are some things I would suggest to do. Also, on social media, I feel like a great tip to take away, people post to social media, but they don't actually interact on social media. So take time to go on to other vendors' accounts, leave comments. Likes are great, but comments are much more impactful. Leave comments. Look at your followers and see who's following you, especially new people, because they're probably newly engaged. And go and comment on their things whenever they post their ring shot or they post a cute photo of them together. Really use social media to engage because that is the number one thing that people don't do on social media. They post, they have a one-way conversation, but they don't have a two-way conversation. Also, again, really reiterate those vendor relationships that you have. Reach out to your vendors, talk to them, see how they're doing. Try to see who you'll be working with at upcoming weddings so you guys can have a game plan. But, use this time. And time's so precious to us. It's a very rare thing that we have it right now. And don't let it go to waste. And make the investment in your future. A lot of people, again, plan on being around 2021. They plan on being around 2022. 2020 is very painful, but it's painful for everyone. And you have to pivot. You have to make these changes so you can survive. Breweries now make hand sanitizer. Shoe companies make face masks. We have to pivot as an industry as well.
Wow, that was worth the price of admission right there. That little piece of segment right there was worth the price of admission right there. We had a few comments that came in while I didn't want to interrupt you while you were talking. Tony says, and now I'm looking to see who these folks are. Tony says, it's good to hear people talk about marketing. It ain't just the craft. Thanks so much for this. Hey, we're happy to do this, Tony, and thank you for acknowledging that. Also, we had another comment come in. Anna, you were right. Marketing has changed, and I will too. Thank you. All good information. I will be marketing some changes because of this. Very helpful info. So glad to see that. And then thank you, Katie, David, all good. So, it's really, I can't tell you guys how much it thrills my heart to have y'all on here tonight and to have this reaction to people that are watching. When I set out to create this, my whole goal, as we talked about before we came on tonight, my whole goal with this is just to be able to help people in our industry be better business owners, be proud of themselves, be confident in the fact that maybe they could really see themselves growing this into a full-time business for themselves, a full-time way to take care of their family or even themselves or whomever, and not just piddle around for a couple of years and not be able to figure out how to survive in this industry. So that was the reason why I wanted to create this, and we will continue to keep doing these. And so we are very, very lucky to have great guests. Anna, thank you. Another person watching just said, we're very fortunate to have great guests like Anna and Katie join us, and we're going to keep doing this every week. And Anna, hopefully we can have you come back again in a couple of weeks, and we'll tackle another subject together.
Talk about getting ready for engagement season.
There you go.
Yes,
there you go. Perfect.
Great.
Something that we've noticed on our Instagram account, again, we're super active on Instagram stories, and we have brides DMing us all the time, but we're getting a lot of new followers of couples who are not yet engaged, but it's coming. So you're about to have that new, wave of new couples, newly engaged couples. It's going to happen December 25th and 24th and 25th are the two busiest days for engagements in a year. So you need to make sure that you are ready to go, because we all know when 2021 hits, if weddings happen the way they are scheduled to happen, you're not going to have any breathing room at all. So you really have to use this time to get yourself in a great place for 2021.
Very good point. Very, very, very good point. Another comment here. This is the opportunity to be the first in a new lane, learning how to navigate and generate income from a distance. Love it. Love it. Great comments. Well, this has been a lot of fun. I thank both of you guys for joining us. Those of you guys that are watching, we appreciate you in the DJ's Vault group, the Wedding Business Growth group, the Marry Me Tampa Bay group. We appreciate all you guys for watching us tonight. We hope you guys have had a great time with us. Let's see, we had another comment. Social media is the new resume. Very good point. That's a very good point. Definitely social media is the new resume. So we are going to sign off, but thank you guys for joining us. We hope you've had a great time listening to us tonight. Katie, thanks for filling in for Nick tonight with me.
Thank you. Nice to see everyone.
And he's going to hate me for saying this, but you're definitely a much better looking Nick. So we might have to keep you around a little more often, because you definitely improve the watchability of our show a lot for us. And Anna, of course, we could not thank you enough for being on with us tonight. Thank you for sharing a lot of that words of wisdom with everybody. Even I learned something, and I love that. I love that.
David got frozen.
Keep learning. So thank you guys. Anna, Katie, stick around for just a minute if you don't mind. We're going to sign off, though. By the way, if you watch the recording of this and if you have questions or comments for myself, Katie, or Anna, please put those on there. Even if you watch the recording of it, we will monitor those. We will get those answered for you. So don't miss out. Thank you. We'll see you guys next week. Have a great one. Be safe out there. Thanks, guys.